Hello viewers, welcome to my channel History Hub. Today we will know about the history of United States part 9. During the first two and decades after the Revolutionary War, there were dramatic changes in the states of sal- slavery among the state and increased in number of predicts black and inspired the revolutionary ideals in equality of men and influenced by their loser economics and reliance one slavery and northern state absolutist and slavery and state of the upper and south made and many nations and deserts and resulting in increase in the protection of free legs of the upper south of a percentage of the total non-white and population from and less than 1% in 1792 to more than 10% by 1810. By that date, a total of 13.5% of all black in United States were free after that date, with the demand for this won this rise and because the deep and south expanding cotton and cultivations, the number of many nations of declined and sharply and an interior US itself and trade and became the important source of wealth of our many planners and the traders. In 1807, and Congress served the US and involvement with the Atlantic South and trade. Thomas and Jefferson and defeated and Adams for the presidency in the 1800 election, and Jefferson's a major and achievement as president was Louisiana and purchased in 1803, which the pro-white and U.S. settled with the Bastille and potential for expansions west of Mississippi River. And Jefferson and scientists and support an expedition with two explorers and map to the domain and domestic not available the lower and crack and expeditions and Jefferson being the labor and discipline republication great and should be based on independence on farmer and flattener and distributed and cities and factories and blanks. We also distributed to the federal government and gas and tried and weak the judiciary how we are matching the John and Marshall and Federalist and for Virginia although the foreign constitution specified and supreme court hits the function we are barks and until the Marshall the chief and just 1801 1835 and defined the specifically the power of overturn act and Congress of a state that violated the constitution first enacted in 1803 in Marbury and Madison War of 1812. Americans were increasingly and angry the British and violations of American ships and natural rights to Hart and Francis to the imprisonment and sieges 10,000 Americans and sailors needed by either royals and navy to fight and Napoleon's and British support of hostility and Indian attacking American settlers in the Midwest with the goal and creating for British Indian very and set straight to block American expansions westward. The may also have despite and annexed wall of part and British and North America. Wall through this and still heavily divided and despite the strong opposition from the northwest and especially from Federalist who did not want to disrupt entered the Britain and Congress the decree on War 1 June 18 and 1812. The war was in the frustrating for both sides and both sides tired and the invited the other end and we are repulsed and the American high. I command remained the incompetent until the last year. The American military and proved the ineffective and because the soldiers and were the reluctant and to leave the home and efforts to the invade and Canada and repeatedly failed. The British struck and invaded American and commercial and bankrupted the territory and the further and agree New and England's who and some bright supplies are to bring 10 to the Americans under General Williams Henry and Harrison and finally the again and will control the lake and area and defeated the Indians wander and teach message in Canada while the under Jackson and ended the Indian trade in the southeast and the Indian trade to expansion into the Midwest was permanently ended. The British invaded to the occupied and much and many mine. The British and raided the Brant and Washington, but were the plate and battle in more in 1814. Where there the Star and Spangled Banner was written celebrated the American success in abstract New York major British and invention of New York State was and stranded to back to the Battle of the Plattsburghs and finally in early 1850 under Jackson and discreetly and defeated a major British and invention at the Battle of New Orleans and making him to the most famous war hero with a naval lance and fortunately gone by the causes war and operated on the both hand side across the beaches and people at the wrecks and Americans climbed and victory won favor so 1851 was new came almost simulatory Jackson and Victoria News and lent the space party treaty and that the power and boundaries in place and American sailed with the prides and success and second war independence the Navy's war in anti-war and Federalist and Party were the put on same and the Great Party and never recovered and this helped them won the English Americans identify that commented a nationally pride over state of pride. Britain never achievement of war gold and granting Indians and barrier the strait to block and further an American settlement and this allowed and settlers to fall into the Middle East and without the four and major strait. The War of 1812 also destroyed Americans' negative and protection a standing army, which was approved and useful in many areas against the British, as opposed to while and equipped and properly trained military in the early month of the war and war the department and official in the state and dedicated to place and regular troops as the nation of main defense. The second great and king and the Protestant revival movement that effective and impaired nations and drawing to the early 19th century and the led to the rapid and growth and government began to the 1790 and Grange and Mountain by 1800 and after 1820 membership a row rapidly among the published and medalist and congratulations whose and purchase and led by the movement it was at peak and 1814 its honorable millions few new and members in existing and beneficial and demonstrations and late information and demonstrations and many conventions believe their king and handled and Americans and the second are king simulators establishing many from movement and including the actual instant and temperature and designs and remove the rivals and society before the anticipate second coming to and Jesus Christ. Thank you for watching my videos. Please like, share and subscribe my channel for upcoming videos. Goodbye.